everybody. Today we're going to talk about um, a few ideas I have with what corporations need to do and politicians need to do to make corporations do right. That should be like laws and stuff. First of all, the first main law we need to do is we need to outlaw part time. Unless you are under the age of 18, going to college, or like a mother, yeah, or like a female, like a mom that's like kind of a single mom, but not necessarily a single mom, but or maybe you're the mother of and you're married to a guy and you're also supposed to be like a housewife of sorts, right? Unless you fit in those type of categories, you don't need a part-time job. It's really that simple. If you're underage, of course you only need a part-time job because you're in school. If you're in college, again, you're in school. If you're supposed to be a stay-at-home housewife, you got to be home when the kids are home. So you can only work part-time during the time the kids are home. It doesn't matter whether you're a house husband or a housewife. You only need a part-time job because of that time. Plus, usually women do a better job in that and they take kids to doctor's appointments and all that other stuff, right? Traditional housewife did all that. So they could do a part-time job. They can't do a full-time if they have kids. So if you're single, male or female, full-time. Over the age of 18, not in college, not got any kids, or you're the main breadwinner of the family, which is usually the man, you definitely need a full-time job. Anything beyond that should be illegal. Now, that being said, politicians get some balls and make it happen. Next up is a Employment Protection Act, where you cannot get fired unless you have legally broken the law of the land of America. Such laws would be stealing, you murdered someone and you've gone to jail for it. That. As long as you go to work and work, you shouldn't be able to get fired from your job. There should be some kind of criteria to protect people from being able to be fired. As long as, if they're good employees, they should be allowed to get away with certain things like overtime and like not necessarily following all the procedures of doing work, or maybe even cussing management out. Why? Because they should be allowed to do that because they're a good worker. Okay? So if they're a good worker, you need to be able to keep them and they can't get fired for it. We need some kind of, like, if you come into work on time or early and you keep working and you do your job, there's got to be some kind of criteria for certain employees where they cannot get fired regardless. I mean, yeah, if you murdered someone and you got arrested, yeah, of course they should be able to fire you so that because you're not going to be able to come into work. If you steal from the company, yeah, you should get fired. If you like get in a fight at work, yeah, you should get fired. Yeah, that's like breaking the law though. But if you come into work, you do your job, you go above and beyond the call of duty of what you're supposed to be doing, you do more than just your job, you not only should be protected from getting fired, but you should be being the first ones being promoted and given guaranteed raises. So politicians, get some balls, make it happen. Next up, is while I was talking about promotions and raises, we should have laws in place where they promote internally. They don't promote people just because they came out of college and applied for the job. You should promote internally first, and there should be a experience raise for every year of experience that you have in of working, one, and two, every year you have working in that particular industry. A guaranteed raise for each additional year. So while I'm not really a big fan of the um, minimum wage, because minimum wage doesn't work if you don't maximize prices. If you don't have a price cap of how much someone can sell stuff for, minimum wage won't work. Because as long as minimum wage, as long as minimum, when minimum wage goes up, if prices also go up, you're always going to have a gap. So if you don't have a price cut where you can't sell it for over so and so amount of money, minimum wage won't work. I'm just saying. The only way minimum wage is going to work is if we have price cuts where prices are frozen and locked at a certain level. They cannot sell the items for more than that price. Then minimum wage would work because then the minimum wage could be increased to the point where the minimum where you're and also this dollar in a year or for experience or whatever would come to the point where after a while you're making more money than you need to be able to buy stuff. So after a while, see, as long as the how much you get paid and the prices of stuff stays like this, which actually is working more like this is going up, but this is going up twice as much. This goes up once, this goes up two more times. What you need to do is have this fixed at a point, and this can keep going up until it matches, and then this can keep going up, and then you retire and you have a lot of money because you got to save a lot. Also, the government can tax more, or can make more money off of taxes the more people are working, so it helps the economy. Now, so anyway, mandatory raises based on experience. Politicians get some balls, make it happen. Next, since we need more employees, so we'll have a 0% employment rate, or as close to one as possible, so that people won't be on food stamps, welfare, unemployment, etc. We need to hire more employees. We need a no cashier, cash register left alone act, and we need like a employee per shelf per owl type act where that employee is in charge of that owl, or maybe like, okay, you got an employee who's in charge of clearance owl. Anything that a customer needs assistance on in that owl, they do. We don't need to sit, and anything that needs to be put up on that owl from the stock room, the stock boys can just bring it, drop it off of that owl, and then the guy can put it up, open it, and put it up. Because every owl will have an employee running that owl. Like Walmart has like over 100 owls. They'd have over 100 employees just for the owls. And that would actually make it faster and more efficient for, the stock boys, because the stock boys could just drop it off, boom. Now maybe they could do more than one owl. Like maybe a guy could be running a whole entire section, like the DVD entertainment section or the DVD section, where you got like one guy walking up and down assisting customers of the whole entire section, or the toy section, or the clearance section, or the garden section, or whatever. You should have more stuff like that, where you have employees that do that instead of breaking it down. Also, it's smarter to have Just a side note, it's smarter to have every employee be able to do everything than it is to have only certain employees do certain things. Meaning, you shouldn't hire an employee just to do this. You should hire an employee to do all of it. Because if you hire an employee to do everything, you don't have to hire so many employees. And that employee can do it when another employee doesn't show up to work because they're sick or something. But if you only have one employee that cleans all the bathrooms, um, yeah, what happens when he takes a vacation? Is it's 2 weeks vacation. What happens if he gets sick? People didn't think about that, do it. Anyway, again, politicians make these companies hire more workers based off of, I guess, square footage of the building or business that they have. Like, I don't know how many employees you should have per square foot, but I don't think you should ever have any cash registers not working, not operated by a person. I go to Kroger all the time, grocery stores all the time, all Walmart, Target. I go to all these different ones all the time, and they have like literally cash registers that are just sitting vacant. If you'd hire more workers, you wouldn't have that problem. And if you really care, politics. So again, bam, get some balls, make it happen. Pass these laws already, Congress, House of Representatives, Senate, executive orders, Mr. President. I don't care who does it. Make it happen. Get some balls. Make it happen. Force the corporations to do right. Besides, if you politicians really cared about redistributing the wealth and helping the poor people out and all that, you would make sure there was as close to a 0% unemployment rate as possible. Because if everybody's working, no one needs a government assistance. And the rich would have less money in their pockets, so they'd be less richer because they would be making sure everybody was middle class. And the middle class would also have more money in their pockets. And then you could tax less because you would need less money for spending. Also, people don't get mad and upset with what the government's doing when they're all happy with money and they're making more money than they need. So when people are upset, unemployed, and have too much free time on their hands, they start these activist things where they protest over stupid stuff, which they don't have the time to do if they're working. You know what I'm saying? And if they're working like 60 or more hour weeks, open and close dailies, deals, getting 12 or more hours a day, they could literally take a whole entire month off and go have fun or whatever. And they can afford to buy whatever they want to buy, which also keeps the economy running and stimulates it. See, it's smarter to have everybody working and making big bucks so they can afford to buy everything. You have less on the shelves and the economy stays running. Nowadays, you got the prices too high. People have to choose what they can and cannot buy. If they were making enough money, they could afford to both pay all their bills and still buy anything and everything they want. Now, some people still wouldn't be able to afford it because they're stupid and don't know how to manage money. But the majority of people, if they knew how to manage money, which should be taught in schools, by the way. So, by the way, politicians, get some balls, start teaching actual money management, survivalist training, and actual useful skills in school. That's why we're so behind in schools, because you're not teaching actual useful skills, how to be self-sufficient. cooking, cleaning, auto mechanics, electricians. Teach actual useful skills, HVAC, whatever, plumbing. Teach actual useful skills, camping, survivalist training. Teach actual useful self sufficient skills. How to use a weapon, proper self defense with and without weapons, proper use of tools, how to be a handyman, etc., etc. If they taught that kind of stuff in school, people would be able to be self-sufficient so that if even if they could not find a stable job that they liked, they could then go into business for themselves and do these things that they learned in school that the people don't want to do themselves because they may have learned it in school, but they don't want to do it because they prefer their cushiony office job or whatever they got. So they'd rather just pay someone else to do it. But now you have to go to trade schools to learn stuff that should have been taught in elementary schools and high schools. Seriously. Ugh. Politicians. You really want our kids to be smart, you'll teach them money management, valuable useful skills, and self-sufficiency and survivalism and self-defense. And what people have to go to additional education now to learn in trade schools. Stop giving them so much free time and start giving them more useful skills. Instead of teaching them stuff that they already probably know and probably learned on television or whatever, or can find out on YouTube or whatever about like sexuality and junk, which is not your place to be teaching. That's the parents' place. Teach actual reading, writing, arithmetic, and useful skills, including gardening, farming, and stuff, so that people can be, again, self sufficient. You want a better society, you got to teach morality and self sufficiency. We have a government that doesn't want to do that. We have a government that wants you to depend on big daddy government. No, you should be able to depend on yourself, and you should be able to depend on corporations. You can't depend on corporations anymore. Definitely can't depend on the government anymore. You got to depend on yourself. But what we need is a healthy balance between corporations that are controlling everybody because everybody's working for them, and government that's trying to control everybody too. You gotta have a healthy balance between those two forms of tyranny. So politicians need to get some balls against corporations, and the employees need to get some balls against corporations, and we need to stop taking this BS from corporations and from a tyrannical government. Like, seriously, you need to make the Bill of Rights apply to corporations, like freedom of speech, right to bear arms, all that stuff. See, right now, the reason why people's guns are getting stolen out of people's cars is because they have to leave them in their cars. Gun locks don't work. The person could still get his gun stolen and take the gun lock off. If everybody was allowed to openly carry in every building, including government buildings, no one would be able to steal someone's gun. Pretty hard to steal someone's gun when it's on their person. Besides the sheriff's department, because militia, Second Amendment says militia. It is the government's job to regulate the militia. That would be the individual, not the weapons. Now, how do they do that? Well, they hire the Shelby. I live in Shelby County, so I keep saying Shelby County. But they hired the sheriff's department to train everyone on how to use the weapon that they just purchased. Or they hire the military to train every individual citizen how to operate the weapon they just purchased. The weapons aren't supposed to be regulated. The people are supposed to be regulated. The best way to regulate people is to make sure they are certified and trained and equipped to actually use the weapon they just purchased. Best way to do that is use the sheriff's department, the police department, and the military to go around and training these people on. Okay, you just bought this weapon. Let me give you free government paid training from a military personnel officer that is train that's job is to train people on how to do that, or or a sheriff's deputy, or a police officer. I mean, seriously. Shoot. So there's just a few things we could do to fix the economies, to help stimulate the economies, to make laws to make employees have more money in their pocket, to, you know, make corporate bigwigs have less money in their pocket, to all these different things that could be done to help the individuals out. And would be good because it would all promote the general welfare. Promote the general welfare. That's the whole entire idea of Congress. You're supposed to create laws that promote the general welfare. When you cater to the rich, you're not promoting the general welfare. If you cater to the poor, you're again not promoting the general welfare. But if you make everybody middle class, then everybody's promoted in the general welfare. Now, a few little side notes that I would throw in is another way you could help people out is a half price buy act. See, this would be and a this would be very useful in okay for places that you like pawn shops, for example. Okay, pawn shops and um, places that buy your stuff. Right now, they get to decide how much they pay you for it, and they pay you at most 25%, at least like maybe 5% of what they're going to sell it for its value. So if they give you $1, that means they're probably going to sell it for like $20. You get what I'm getting at? So what we need is a 50% sale redemption policy or something. So 50% of value policy, basically. So if the pawn shop or the reseller that buys it is going to resell it for $100, they would have to the minimum amount they'd have to give the person is $50, or even trade. I'd say even trade, store credit, or 50% cash. Make that law, and then I go in and I got something for $50, and you want it, I get something off your shelf that's worth $50. Problem solved. Or you have to give me $25 cash. See, this would be another way for people who have a bunch of stuff and they don't want it no more to trade it. or people who could find stuff cheaper at like yard sales, thrift stores, or whatever, and then I could go to a place that buys it and sell it and make money. Everyone could do that. Okay. That being said, we need to we need to abolish annual percentage rates. APRs need to be abolished. We need all loans to be term percentage rates with a maximum of 10%. TPR, we should all loans should be term percentage rate loans. All of them. And the maximum amount for a term percentage rate loan should be 10%, and this should be law. Law. So politicians, get some balls, make it happen. Why I say this is because APR sucks. See, if we had term percentage rates, you wouldn't end up buying that $20,000 house and paying $100,000 for it, or $50,000 and paying $200,000 or whatever for it. By the time you pay for a house after 20-year mortgage, you're paying 4, 5 times the amount. The worst is cars. Oh my gosh, you buy that $50,000 car on credit. In 5 to 10 years from now, when you finally pay it off, you've paid $200,000 for that dang car. It's terrible. It's terrible. So if we had TPR, which would be term percentage rate, and the maximum someone could charge would be 10%. Just think about this for a moment. $50,000 house at 10% interest is $5,000. That means you get the house for $55,000. $200,000 house. The maximum the bank can make is $20,000. It's $220,000. They got to divide that $220,000 into, say, a 10-year mortgage, which is $22,000 a year, which is about $2,000 a month. Again, car costs you $10,000. A brand new car. If you get the payment set up for 5 years, they can only make $11,000, $1,000 in interest. That's 10% off of that car. That's $11,000. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, if you paid $500 a month, the car's paid off in less than 2 years, and you own it. Bam. Get rid of usury, or at least abolish the amount a usury is. Again, pawn shops are terrible too, because they loan you so and so and you pay it. They have like monthly PRs. They have seriously, the point, credit cards are terrible. APR of whatever, plus all these late fees and all these other fees and fees and fees and fees. If they could only charge TPR, they couldn't do all that. Credit card gives you a maximum spend limit of, I don't know, let's just say they give you a maximum spend limit of $10,000. Well, once you've spent that, you owe them $11,000, and they just got to wait until you pay them back their $11,000, or else because you maxed out that credit card. See, then if you did that, you know what? That would work for us, not for them. That would work for the person who's actually using debt instead of working for the person who does. Now, another thing is you want to hurt the rich, abolish tax safe havens. You got to abolish these tax safe havens. These locations and buildings that these rich people have, that they're just allowed to leave abandoned. It's urban blight is what it is. If you if you eliminate these tax safe havens, then these businesses can't declare that they're losing money off of them, and they then have to rent these locations out, which will help people who are trying to start businesses because they'll have locations to rent, and they'll have to actually accept lower rent fees than normal because they have to rent them out to make some kind of money because they won't be allowed to use them as tax safe havens, which which will help with ending urban blight because urban blight is caused by having a bunch of abandoned buildings and a bunch of abandoned build houses. If these houses had to be rented out, had to, they'd have to fix them and rent them out for cheaper or sell them. Couldn't take losses off. So politicians get some balls, make it happen. Anyway, remember God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. Keep on gaming. Keep on collecting. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Jesus loves you. Jesus God. Jesus Lord. Jesus King. Jesus is ruler of everything. And